Well. Hello, Tim Moss.
Hello, Wendy Stuart.
And hello to everybody out there. Welcome to If These Walls Could Talk.
Yay.
Here we are. It's Wednesday. Why do they call Wednesday hump day, really?
Because it's halfway through the week. It's the hump. You get over the hump.
I feel like that applied before the pandemic. Now I feel like the humps are in a different spot now. Because no, work with me on this one. A lot of the time I just don't know what day it is.
Same here.
You know what I'm saying?
Thank God for Google Calendar.
Oh my God, thank God for Google Calendar. So, oh my gosh, I was here at PANGEA last night, Tim. It was so amazing. Kobe Cole did a show, and this is the last Tuesday of the month. It is such a fabulous show with the talent will just blow you away. From new talent to seasoned talent, people from Broadway or Birdland, but
he somehow just brings in the best talent from New York City into that
Thank
show.
You.
It's amazing.
Right. Or people that are visiting New York City.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It is just amazing. So mark your calendars. It's always the last Tuesday of the month, and you would have an absolute great time here. I have to tell you, I am in recovery. I was 3 days with the Explorers Club. We have our annual Explorers Club dinner, but it's really 3 days of cocktail parties, conferences, speakers presenting, the brightest and the best from all over the world.
That would be fascinating.
Right, 3,600 members, and many of them come to our New York headquarters. So I give the tours there, which I totally love. A lot of the people had never been in our New York building before, but I think what's so inspiring for me, Tim, is we read all this terrible stuff these days. Algae blooms, holes in the ozone. I mean, everything that you read, and you find yourself, it's like, how am I going to get through another day? I go there, and when I hear what people are doing, that someone cares enough to study frogs in a remote area in Ecuador, that is important to them because they've discovered a fungus that people could possibly get eventually, but they're working on it. Hearing people working on all of these things with climate change or, the ice caps melting, it really gives you hope. There's amazing people out there doing incredible things. And I guess that's just what I want to say,
Oh, I mean, but I envy you in being able to just surround yourself for a few days with these brilliant minds.
Yeah. And they're brilliant. And one beautiful woman I go up to, she couldn't have been more than like 27 years old, and I just looked at her and I'm like, I bet you're a scientist, aren't you? And she says, oh yeah, I'm a nuclear physicist. I mean, who knows people that do, you could be anything. You could be a model or an actress, right?
Yeah.
Tim, you don't know people that are nuclear physicists. Why is that? What's wrong?
We need to hang out with more astrophysicists and stuff. Yeah,
that's what we need to do, Tim. We have to go out there and look and mix and mingle. So if any of you know some astrophysicists, especially
send them our way,
right? Send them Tim's way. He'll swipe right for an astrophysicist. I bet you are so excited. Your show is coming up.
Yes, actually, this Saturday we have a dress rehearsal tonight and sound check later tonight too.
Wow!
It's Don't Tell Mama this Saturday, April 29th at 8:00, and Ike Velli and I were doing a show called Bitter Betties, which also features Sam Stone and Alex Celso, also known as Satanya Face.
Right. Yep. I bet it's been a blast, your rehearsals.
Oh my God. My stomach, by the time I leave, I'm aching from laughing so hard. We have such a great time. So it's such a funny show.
Now it's also, you're having a birthday party after. Wait a minute. It's your birthday and Ike's birthday?
Well, Ike's is May 4th, mine is May 11th, exactly a week later. So he just figured, well, let's just have a birthday party for all the Tauruses. So.
No, it's like a Taurus birthday party. I have to tell you, in my mind, I had Ike Velli's birthday in August. I remember celebrating his birthday in August at the Triad Theater, or did I hallucinate that?
I think you hallucinated.
Ike's not born in May. Well, good. I'm just going to go with the flow, and we're all
well. Who knows? Knowing Ike, he might have had one in August. Who knows?
So, we have,
but
yeah.
I'm also working in rehearsals on a show called Reunion, which I've done before. I love that script. It's really amazing, and that'll be, I think, on May 21st, I believe. So, but I'll have more information as we get a little bit closer to it. But that's one of my favorite scripts and roles of all time. I love this. It's a short, and it'll be featured with a few other shorts.
And it's fabulous that you're getting a chance to do it again.
Yes. And then we're planning on filming it.
Oh my God! Yeah,
into a short film. So
it'll be a multimedia presentation. Just a few shout outs here at Pangea. We've got David Mills coming up Saturday night, stand-up comic and singer. So make sure you mark your calendar for that. Head over here. And one thing I want everyone to know, Pangea has a wonderful email. What makes it so wonderful is every single performer for the next upcoming weeks are listed there, so you can easily mark it, as opposed to these things that pop up on our Facebook page that I lose. Tim, don't you find yourself, you lose them? You're like, damn, where did I see that? That's something that you were invited to, and then you never see it, right? It goes into the black hole. So yeah, please go online and check out Pangea's upcoming shows.
Oh, Pangea's got a wonderful lineup coming up. Some wonderful shows. Yeah,
certainly do here. Well, darling, it's spring, and
yes.
Speaking.
Well, firstly, I did I sang for a political event the other night. Apollonia Cruz, our friend Apollonia Cruz was the host, and I sang. Francisco Gomez is running for district leader in the East Village over in Alphabet City. So
fabulous!
Down and I had a wonderful time there. Got to see Reverend Carmen from the Bronx, who I don't get to see very often, and kind of like a reunion.
It is a reunion, and really two shout outs to Apollonia Cruz. The Queen of the Bronx, first of all, has done so much for the LGBTQ community.
Absolutely.
And tonight she is on my other show at 7 o'clock, TriVersity Talk. We're going to be talking about upcoming Bronx Pride. That's July 15th. And all the other things that Apollonia is into, who just gives of herself amazingly and is looking fabulous with the two-tone blonde and dark hair. Right?
Yeah,
I like it. It's like she's got this fashionable bob. It just looks so great. So try and tune in tonight. My God, we have so many announcements. Tim and I are like the town criers. So speaking of announcements, I'm really excited today about our guest.
I agree.
A shout out to Eileen Shapiro and Jimmy Starr, because she works with them
from World Star PR,
World Star Media, and she's one of their incredible clients. She, in her own right, came here in 2018 from Germany. How people can come from there to here is beyond me. I can't make it out of Manhattan, and that is the truth. It amazes me when someone comes here that is a multi-award winning actress, a screenwriter, a producer. You want to talk about fingers in every pie, and please keep in mind she came here in 2018. This is a woman that doesn't let any grass grow under her feet. She may be from the German countryside, but let me tell you, she is well suited for LA. Let's give a warm round of applause to NIKI J BORGER.
Yay!
Hi,
wow.
How are you? What a nice introduction. Thank you.
And it's all true, Nikki. You know, there's no embellishments needed there. And yeah, I completely admire you for what do we say, having the gumption or the chutzpah to pack up one life and start another. And LA is not an easy place. So,
well, and not only to go from one place to another, but go from one country to a completely different country. Right. And that's very admirable. Very admirable.
It's almost the other side of the world too, right?
Right.
Like from LA counting, this is almost the other side. This is as far away as you can go.
And not for nothing. Of course, your English is perfect. If you asked him or I to speak German, it would be butchered so badly.
Well, Dankeschön. I can say that.
Oh, look at you. That was great.
And bist du müde?
Yeah. Oh, Tim,
You have an amazing accent.
That's all I remember from high school German.
Oh, you took German in high school.
What's that?
You took German when you were in high school. Yeah, so that's how you. That was nice. That was it for you. I'm curious, Nikki, because you grew up in Europe. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 4.
Wow.
I knew that was so impressive. That was the answer.
I'm not practicing all of them, but like I grew up on the border to France. Like it takes 15 minutes to go to France. I studied on the border to Switzerland. Wow. And then later 2 hours away from Denmark. It's Europe, right?
Oh my goodness.
A lot closer.
Well, see, that's the amazing thing about Europe is you have within a few minutes or a drive, you have a completely different country with a completely different language and its own culture.
Yeah.
Here in America, we don't have that diversification, so you can go 1,000 miles in any direction and they still speak English and eat McDonald's, Oh,
and even
I beg to differ with you. The culture right now in the country is very, very different when you get to certain parts of it. As a matter of fact, it's a culture I don't even recognize anymore. Well, I wake up some days, right, Tim? I can't believe that I am in America and I'm hearing these things, but I digress.
Yes, I'm
Today,
sorry.
Nikki, is about you, not about my soapbox. So, what was when you came here? First of all,
just 1 second. I would like to hear a little bit more about growing up.
Okay? We'll take it back
near Switzerland and France, and I find that totally amazing.
Well, growing up in Germany is very different than growing up in the US. Like I was raised a lot more independently and I guess less protected than kids or especially girls are over here. And and then everything is about cultural understanding, right? So there are a lot of exchange programs and cross-border things. Like first time I went abroad by myself with an organization, but without my parents, I was 12. I went to Britain.
Tim, that is very typical. I just want to say, because we're talking about culture, German, very worldly. And I've met so many kids that have traveled at your age for volunteer programs.
Yeah. And that's what I did, right? I kept on going. I went to France to a boarding school when I was 14. I was there for 4 months. Then I applied for a program and went to New Zealand at age 15 for 6 weeks.
Traveling the world.
And then after I graduated high school, I went to volunteer in Ecuador.
Oh my goodness, that's so cool.
It's funny, Nikki. That's where I met kids from Germany in Ecuador. We were at a wildlife center. They thought they were coming to take care of animals. And Nikki, you're probably familiar with this. They have kids come and they promise them all of this. Inevitably, when animals are involved, you just end up mucking out cages and hosing things down. And these girls were so disappointed, because they thought they were going to be working with the actual animals in Ecuador.
So now,
there's one important point you got to see here, right? Like they have all these volunteer programs for kids that graduate high school, but really the last thing second and third world countries need is unskilled labor. And like that there's a bit of a problem in the system. I ended up working for a nonprofit later on that it's called Our Little Brothers and Sisters. They have orphanages in 9 South American countries. And they only take professionals for volunteering for that reason. And it's a longer process, but those professionals actually work in what they've studied, and then they can contribute and add to what is needed over there, right? So, yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
No, what did your parents do? What kind of work? Did they encourage you to get out and travel? And
yeah, they did. So my actual father specifically, he loved the US. So I came over here once or twice a year until I was 10.
Oh, nice.
But they're both they were very down to earth people. My mom was a physical therapist. My stepdad was a banker. And my father was a journalist. So yeah.
Oh, sweet. Nice. Now, one thing that you had mentioned beforehand, when you were born, you had was it a physical
so I was born without 3D depth perception. And that's something you're born with. You know, you have two eyes, because by combining two pictures, your brain can anticipate the depth, like how far things are away. And if they're moving towards you or away or something. Right. And my brain couldn't do that. So like, because my eyes were at different stages of development when I was born, that ability I only had to for about 10% of normal people. So I had a ton of accidents growing up. Like,
oh my goodness.
Can they train the eye to get that? Like, what is,
how did you,
deal with it?
You can't train it and practice it. It takes a lot of practice, but you cannot get to that level. There's no way of fixing that, that physical part of it, but you can practice it.
Do you still have that?
I still have that. I'm just living a lot better with it, and it hasn't been an impediment to my life anymore in the last 15 years. But it took a lot of practice and a lot of making up for things. And still, when I get really tired, I get super clumsy, which is really funny.
I'm thinking about even some people I know. This is something that you're very lucky they diagnosed it, right, Tim?
Yeah, right.
Because it seemed to be something that you could say about the kid, they're developmentally disabled, or they're quote unquote accident prone. So to at least be able to put a label on what it is, how did they find out?
Well, I was cross-eyed, right? My eyes would cross over, because I think this side wasn't able, like the muscle in the eye wasn't strong enough to fixate straight, right? And that's what they realized really, really early on. So I got my first glasses. Yeah, so I got my first glasses by the time I started walking, I think.
Wow.
Really,
because again, depth perception,
right?
And, I mean, that's very important too. Yeah, I'm sure there was a lot of falling down, a lot of running into things. And,
right?
Yeah.
Now, can you drive a car?
Oh, yeah. I can drive and everything. Again, it's not an impediment at all anymore. It just took these years of practice the hard way, right?
Nikki, I hit things. I have a hard time keeping the car in the lane. This is just an issue I have. And even, when you're parking, you pull into a parking lot and there's these two big white lines. I often either like sideways, right? Or too close to the white line. I can come out of a Walmart and find my car in a parking lot anywhere, because it's just always off. Now I think I have a issue, not maybe the same one as you, but I wonder how many people have this.
Yeah, if you have it to a lesser degree, like if you have like 60, 70%, something around that, it's way harder to diagnose, right?
Right.
And I honestly don't know how they do it. I haven't been to an eye doctor in so many years. I'm not up to date there.
Well, that's good that you haven't been to an eye doctor.
It's good. Yeah, I grew out of it, but it took so much time, right? And
I would imagine that was probably a conscious, you'd have to be very conscious of it to work on it and correct it.
Yeah, and as a kid, you don't have that. As a kid, you get the label, like kind of like, be careful with this, and you have all these experiences of things going wrong. Like I broke my nose. I broke my collarbone. I lost my front teeth. I bit a hole into my tongue. I was in a children's hospital every 6 months because of some serious accident. And what followed that was the belief that me and physicality, any sort of sports or physical activity, not match. And I kept that until I was 19, actually.
Wow.
It was very limiting.
This is ironic because you're a dancer.
Yeah, but I didn't become that till after.
Tim, how incredible.
When did you discover your talent and your love for dance?
So I started at age 6 with ballroom. So I started early, but ballroom was something my mom found for me, where she felt it was safe to do.
And somebody could hold you up in case you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a girl, right? So it would have been the partner's responsibility to not crash into things, but also we didn't have any boys at that age, so I learned to dance the male parts as well. And it was just such a huge space, and that's what I loved doing it, right? So when I graduated from high school, and I went to Ecuador to volunteer, I started salsa dancing there. And that was the first time I realized that I'm actually good at it. And because I had that experience from being able to dance the women's steps, but also the men's steps, I was really quick in picking it up.
Right.
And started a professional salsa training while I was volunteering in Ecuador.
Okay, that's an incredible story, you know, from someone that was accident prone, called clumsy, falling, and then you master salsa. That's really very inspiring.
Thank you. Yeah, it was really cool and really eye-opening in that sense, and really empowering. I was also I had a lot of allergies growing up. I had about like 25 allergies and asthma.
Oh my goodness.
And because of that experience, while I was in Ecuador, I was volunteering in Galapagos for a little bit.
I've been. I love it.
It's so amazing, right? It's the best climate for people who suffer from asthma. So I decided to stop taking the cortisol and all of that I was taking, and got rid of that as well. I never went back, actually. I did not need asthma medication anymore after.
Wow.
So it was, my whole life changed with this.
Case in point, you know, you changed your environment and the things that were making you sick went away. That there's a valuable lesson to be learned from that.
For sure. But it was also having the belief that I could, right? And then learning the techniques, diving more into where asthma actually comes from, like what this is about and everything. It was really, really interesting and eye-opening.
Well, because I want to continue on this train of thought. I like where we're going. And I think to do that, I want to talk about why you were majoring in political science, right? In university, and how that affected you.
Oh, yeah. So I am from an old German family, an academic family, they would say. There's expectations, including that you have to get a college degree.
Right.
And that was not an option to my parents. It was very clear that I had to go to college and get a good degree. And I got into, I wanted to do something like international, something that helps people and ideally helps people that are disadvantaged. And I wasn't sure who was going to be working for an embassy or an international nonprofit or United Nations. So I applied for political science, and I got into what would be considered an Ivy League school over here in Germany. And it was very, very hard. It was very, very hard. And I did not like it.
Do you mean the academic part, or just
the academic part?
That your heart was not in it?
My heart wasn't. My heart had trouble bearing it to some extent, because it was a scientific degree, right? So we would do all sorts of studies and learn all kinds of stuff, and then do nothing about it.
Right.
And that's not my character.
No, it's the opposite, because you want to be able to help, you want to be able to do, you want to be able to
create.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And this is all bottled up in you.
Exactly. And what you learn is really harsh, right? Like the field of international conflict studies, that's a hard topic. You research genocides and incidents or all kinds of horrible things that happen in the world all day, every day. There was one time I actually ran from the room because I had to throw up. And it didn't fit well with me, and I didn't have time for anything artistic at all. I was teaching dance, and I was training a show dance group to some extent, but that was like a side thing, and it was just to keep me above the water, to just keep up with this workload and the intensity of the study. And it was a really good program, don't get me wrong. It just didn't fit me.
It can be a great program, but if it's a bad fit for you, and if it ends up causing you pain, then it's not even anything you can entertain.
So I had 3 wake-up calls there. I got a kidney infection, ended up in the hospital. The year after, I got mononucleosis. I was out for 3 months. And then the year after, I had a slip disc. And the slip disc was the thing where it didn't suddenly happen. I just had back pain that grew more intense and more intense and more intense. And eventually I wasn't able to stand or sit or do anything apart from laying. I went to get an MRI done, and the doctor was in the room, and he looked at it, and he looked at me, and he said, "You will never dance again." Yeah.
Oh.
And
but we know, okay, and we want to go into
that would have just been.
We know that is somebody's opinion, right? And not a truth.
Well, what did you do? Did you, when he said that, did you feel, oh yes, I will? Or, I mean, that would be devastating to hear.
I was in tears for about a couple of hours after that. I was just out on the street. I walked out of that office. I was just standing there crying.
And pain on top of it. Tim, you remember when you had the thing with your sciatica, right? Your leg.
Oh yeah.
And you're performing, and you. I mean, it's unbelievable. Like, how does one do that? You know, how do you separate the performance part of you from the pain, the chronic pain?
Yeah.
So how did you move forward?
I ended up calling physical therapists. Like, from that appointment, after 2 hours of crying outside on the street, I called physical therapists. I ended up getting an appointment for 3 hours later on that same day. And I walked in, and I could tell it was a really good practice immediately, but my therapist came in, and he asked me about what was happening. And then he asked me, okay, what's underneath this? And I was like, wow, what do you mean?
Like, you were so lucky.
I was so lucky. Not just that he opened my eyes to this, he really kicked my butt in that sense to make changes in my life about it, and reminded me for every session. Well, for the most part, I didn't like what I was doing at all. I was absolutely unhappy with what I was doing. And I realized that, well, life is short, right? And I love teaching dance, but I didn't want to be just the dance teacher. I wanted to find out how far I can actually come on stage if I tried. So from this, I made the commitment to finish my master's, because I had come too far to just drop that. I had about 1 year left, and then try to get into a musical theater school and pursue that professionally.
Right.
Wow.
And
Nikki, at what point did, first of all, kudos to a doctor that said to you why this pain is being caused? Because there's lots of people running around with back pain. I was one of them, chronic back pain. And I was lucky enough to find someone that wrote the book, The Mind-Body Connection, Healing the Mind, Healing the Body. It's Dr. John Sarno. His book is world renowned, written in every language.
And they are connected. The mind,
completely
body,
connected. The problem is, most doctors, you know, we go through like the MRIs, physical therapy, acupuncture, cortisone shots, and then ultimately surgery. And then I was lucky enough to find this person who believed like yours did, and that we as people were connected enough to know, gee, I'm in pain in my whole head about what I'm doing with my life. And in order to get out of pain, I have to do what makes me happy. It is such an epiphany. And then the pain is released. And at what point did you start to feel whole again?
I think it was in musical theater. So I got in, I started the training. I was still writing my master thesis when I was already doing the training, and it was really intense. It was really, really intense. But there was a moment about 2 months in where we first performed on stage and in front of an audience that had paid money to see us. And I felt like, yeah, this is it. the magic of this moment, and I'm sure, Tim, you'll agree with me, the magic of being on stage, performing live in front of an audience, that you feel each other. There's this energy in the room. It's like magic happening. There's nothing cooler on this planet than that experience.
So did you have one of those moments where you might have went out and performed and came off stage and thought, wait, I'm not in pain?
I did. So the pain went, I had gotten rid of the back pain at this point. I had a bunch of other pains because they were training us hard. We had like 4 or 5 hours workout every day. Like there's
those are normal pains, you know, those are muscle pains and, you know, those are normal pains. Wow.
But I was, apart from that, I was pain-free in that sense. And it was amazing.
This is so wonderful.
Yeah. And thank you for sharing that. I've tried to explain this to many people. There are some that buy it and they are able to get themselves out of pain. And then there's other people that go for the back surgeries and the this surgery and the that surgery. And you know what? They're always in some kind of pain after that. So how incredible that you found what makes your heart sing, what makes you happy, and you were able to heal yourself.
And in addition to the dance and the musical theater, you are an award-winning actress, a screenwriter, a producer. I love that. And I believe we do have a video.
We do.
We have a video of your acting. So why don't we take a quick look at that? And then we'll come back and we'll chat a little bit more about your acting, your screenwriting, and your producing.
Yes.
Here, a coffee shop.
People never rob restaurants. Why not? They're not expecting to get robbed.
Or not as expecting. I bet in places like this, you could cut down on the hero factor. I love Charlie Chaplin.
Oh, really?
Yes. Did you know he was friends with Albert Einstein?
Actually, I didn't know that.
Well, I have this funny fascination for historical figures.
You seem like you taste very good.
Oh, excuse me?
You seem like you have very good taste, you know, in historical figures.
Oh, well, thank you. That's what the clerk at the Halloween store told you?
Listen here, woman!
Woman?
Dana, okay, Dana.
And you killed poor Jasper.
He was a guilty enemy of the North.
He was a bloody terrier. The only thing he was guilty of was chewing through your little cape.
It's called a cloak, Dana. And it cost me 3 silvers to fix.
Okay, I'll go first. Let me just say we don't need to be here. We've been married for 5 years now.
6.
5 or 6 years. And this is like a checkup for us. A chance to poke around the engine, change the oil, replace a seal or two.
Yeah, that's all.
Well, Nikki, I found this online, and I just finished doing my acting reel. So I loved yours. Kudos to you for keeping it. You know, Tim, people want it short and sweet, but they still want to be able to see everything that you do. That was short and sweet, and it really shows your incredible range. And you are very well suited for the American market. So,
and also on camera.
Yes, she's great on camera. Yeah, so it's so great that you're here. And you're a very good type for here. You know, there's lots of roles you can play. Tim and I were talking. The whole NFT thing is, I still, as much as I know, is as little as I know. Can you tell us about? You're doing a sitcom that is crypto backed, I believe. Can you talk about that?
I want to hear about that.
Yeah. We're curious.
All right. So the show is called NFTs.
Love that.
Teasing. And I am very excited to be starring in it as the nerdy college graduate, Kelly Swartz. So to back up a little bit, an NFT is a thing that is unique and protected to be unique and can't be duplicated or stolen or changed in any way by being attached to the blockchain, right? That's what.
But is it digital? It is a digital product.
It can be both. It can be digital or physical. What people usually do nowadays is you get both, right?
Okay.
And it's a non-tangible fundable is what they call it.
Non-fungible token. A non-fungible token.
Non-fungible token.
Exactly. Okay. So similar to cryptocurrency, what makes cryptocurrency different is that ideally it cannot be falsified, altered, stolen, changed in any ways. While money that comes from the government, they can reprint more or take some off, right?
That's a good
alter
example,
that.
Right. And that changes the value of it in a way.
And that changes the value of it, right? So an NFT functions in a similar way that it cannot be changed or altered at all. And you have some sort of like smart contract, you can call it, attached to it. So there's rules like if that NFT, let's say it's a piece of art, gets resold, the original artist has to get a certain percentage or not, right? You can make it a smart contract that protects the art from being stolen, altered, or changed in any way, and hence protects the artist. So it's for artists specifically, it's a really interesting way of doing things because we all know how much movies are being like illegally downloaded, music is being illegally downloaded,
right.
All of this, right? So an NFT is a way of protecting the artist's original creation. In that show, the three protagonists are trying to build a business around NFTs, but you know, people still don't really know what is. I mean, what I've told you is all I know about it, right? I'm still figuring
You know what,
out.
Nikki, that was pretty darn good. I learned a little.
Right, that was good.
Very confusing to me, honestly. So
It is. But in the show, they're trying to build a business around that, and they're struggling, and then they get a chance to collaborate with content creators, let's call them, and those are just two worlds colliding.
Oh yes, absolutely, because content creators are one that's like, let me get this out in the world,
right,
to as many people, and you can recopy it as many times as you want, as long as it's
and then you have the nerdy side, right? And then there are a lot more.
And an NFT, which is protecting an original product.
Exactly.
Wow.
So the show is being produced by Legacy Inspired Films, which is a new studio, and they are token based. So it's kind of like membership based, and we're involving the people that hold the token into productions to some extent. So there will be the possibility to go to set. There will be a possibility to get unique things from these shows, or to meet the actors and things like that. Maybe even to have a little bit of impact of where the show is going and everything. So we're still details. We're still in early stages here, but
I'm loving this.
Yeah, this is so incredible. So if it's token based, right? Because I don't know anyone that's done one of these projects. So how do they pay the talent? How is talent paid? And is there like residual? So what do you do with things like residuals?
Everything else still works the normal way, as always, as other productions do.
Tokens.
Sorry?
You won't be paid in tokens. How is
no
in crypto?
No. Everything else is still a normal. It's still a normal production.
It's a normal production. Got it.
Yeah,
right.
In that sense, we're trying to involve our audience more, right, and give people the chance to actually experience what this magical thing, film or TV, is in that sense, right?
That is so cool.
Yeah, Tim, that is
kind of the wave of the future. I just feel. There's something there that is.
I'm super excited.
I asked you the question that I did because I was thinking, what if they let's talk about future, which is not that far off with crypto. What if, right, the whole thing is using crypto to fund it, right? Actors are paid in cryptocurrencies. How will that apply to residual? You know what I'm saying? If everything is transformed into crypto, This is a brand new idea, this production you're working on. I'm taking it one step further, and thinking, wouldn't that be interesting?
That's a good question.
It is.
That would be cool.
With them.
We'll find out sooner
Yeah.
or later, probably.
Right?
Well, one thing I would like to talk to you about,
Yes.
I want to hear a little bit more about Firewolf Enterprise or Entertainment.
Oh, Firewall. Yeah.
Tell us about that.
So here's what happened. I came over. I did a year of school. During that year, I shot a ton of short films. I got my first visa, which is a 1-year work visa to work here. And right when that started, the pandemic hit. And nothing was happening anymore.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
For my next visa, for the actual talent visa that I'm on right now, I had to produce my own short films and get them into festivals. Just because out of all the projects that I did, and I did over 40 short films in a year of being here.
Wow.
None of them submitted. So I had to take matters into my own hand and realize that this was going really well because my short films made it around the world despite the pandemic.
Wow.
Which was really cool.
Right.
So my writing partner and I, while we were stuck at home during the pandemic, we were like, okay, let's make use of this time. Let's create the shows that we want to see.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially like what we care about as actors are the characters, right? Let's create the characters we want to see. 3-dimensional, realistic, authentic, relatable, right? Still cool and fun to watch, but also with something you can connect to.
With more of a dimension. That's the feeling I get from you. You were
more
looking
human.
More human connection. Wow.
Exactly. That's what we were looking for. So we started creating that and got all of them optioned, and they're being pitched for funding right now. We have, we have name talent attached to it that saw the pitch decks, and they were just like, oh my God, what do I have to do to be part of this? And it's so freaking cool. So so we created Firewolf Entertainment to produce these shows and
your own things.
And just chipping away on that right now.
Oh my God.
Did you find that you had to create it because you were just there's a couple of things I picked up from you. You had to promote your own films in the festivals. No one was doing that for you. And you had to take the bull by the horns. And I'm thinking also in terms of your own career, even though, you have like this incredible resume, nobody was doing it for you. So
here's the thing. I'm a tall, blonde, blue-eyed woman.
Yes.
And I'm sure, Wendy, you can relate to this. I'm getting offered a certain type of character.
Right.
Which can be
right.
It can be great characters.
Right.
But from history and how movies were made, the tendency is rather not. The tendency is to write that kind of character as a +1 that is not really in charge of things.
Very true.
But like adding to the male Character and making him look better.
Embellishing and supporting the male character, but not being the one on her own.
Exactly. And that is in itself, and that too is okay, right? We want diverse storytelling, but that's not me.
Right.
And I am the face of that. And I don't want to be that. I feel like I would doing the people that resonate with me a disservice by portraying those characters. That's the best way to put it. I think the people that I can inspire more in strong female roles than in those stereotypical roles. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. And I'm probably going to play that every once in a while, right? But I want to inspire, I want to empower, I want people to see what I do and then hopefully believe that whatever they want to do, they can do it as well.
Absolutely.
Have you noticed a trend towards that in the way films are being done now? Because we have more and more women, right? Driving the train, as we say, in terms of not only the roles, but in terms of production, in terms of writing screenplays. Do you identify with that? Do you see yourself as part of that circle?
I definitely do. And I do think there's good things happening. Yeah. As always, change takes time. Yeah. And there's not going into it. There are structures that are in place, there are habits in place, right? Yeah. A lot of this industry is about who you know, and you keep working with the same people. So getting your way in there takes a lot of effort and time. but I do appreciate that there's a lot of people making a conscious effort. And I think it's important to highlight this is not about taking away from anybody or anything, right? This is about enhancing through diversity in all ways, right? Because that makes it more interesting, more layered. There's more happening, new stories, new dynamics. That's what we're looking for.
Absolutely. And there is, of course, a system in place. And sometimes you have to work within that system before you can start making changes to it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But I'm so glad that you're there and you're doing what you're doing. Now, we're about to end the broadcast of UBC TV, but can you tell everyone how they can find out more about you? Websites, social media, anything?
All right. So my social media is at NIKI J BORGER. You can find me pretty much anywhere by just typing my name.
And Nikki is N-I-K-I.
N-I-K-I, the letter J, and then B-O-R-G-E-R.
You have it up there on the banner.
And Legacy Inspired Films has a website, which is just legacyinspiredfilms.com, and firewolfend.com. That's where you find out more about our shows and what we're actually working on. They're pretty cool.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And your YouTube channel. You have YouTube. I found you on YouTube.
I have YouTube. Yeah, same thing, just my name.
Nikki J.
I have to say, you come up all the time. She's easy to find. That's great.
Which is a wonderful thing as an entertainer, definitely.
Oh my God.
Well, Nikki J. BORGER, I so appreciate your coming on the show. You've been absolute delight to talk to.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, and we wish you all the success. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Best of luck. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Now we just ended the broadcast. Now we can talk some more.
So,
well, I just want to know LA. How do you like LA? I mean, because it's such a movie town, and I mean, it could be kind of overwhelming, I would imagine. I don't know LA that well, but
no, it's really overwhelming at first. It was, especially when I moved here, because I am from Germany. Things are a lot more safe in Germany, a lot more easy. And then I moved here. It's just the vibe is all over the place, depending on where you go. My first apartment, actually, somebody got shot in the house next to me.
Oh my God!
How upsetting! How long had you been here for?
Not too long, a few months, I think. So yeah, that was really rough because
that made a lasting impression, I'm sure.
They couldn't find out who did it, and so the police shut down the entire street for a week.
Oh my goodness!
And so things like that. There's no earthquakes in Germany.
Welcome to America.
It could be worse. You could be in New York City.
Well, I love New York, but I also love where I live now. I'm in Burbank, so
sweet.
Yeah,
super nice. Disney Studios are a quarter of a mile down the street. The Equestrian Center is a quarter mile the other side. So I have the mix of both worlds, like really city, but also you have to stop at a red light to let a horse cross in front of you.
See, I totally love that. Do you ride, Nikki? Do you ride at all?
I love doing it. I'm not getting along to I don't have time right now, but I really like doing it.
But it's, you know what, it's nice to know that it's there. You know what I wanted to talk to you about, because we talked a lot about, our emotions, our feelings, our creativity. You started a very inspirational podcast. Can you tell us?
Unlimit Yourself. Yeah. So it's called Unlimit Yourself because my personal journey has been so much about personal development and outgrowing my limitations, right? Whether it's eyesight, allergies, beliefs that I had.
Right.
And all these things that happened in my life led me to really dive deep into personal development and energy work specifically, which is a more basic form of Reiki, you could say.
I was going to say,
So Unlimit Yourself, I started during the pandemic just because I wanted to give back something. I wanted to help, and that was the way I could think of. So I reached out to all my friends who are coaches, because I used to coach before coming here. And I was like, hey, would you be open to do what we would call a breakthrough session
Wow.
And so in a way that like we put it on YouTube and people can actually see that.
Oh, how great.
And I went ahead and I looked for people that were going through a hard time with something. It was weight loss, love life, anxiety, depression. We had the entire range of problems, and I paired them up with a coach or sometimes with myself. And we would go through a breakthrough session and actually record it.
Wow.
And then I had people follow through with a certain action step and then sent in like updates of what has happened after. And I put that at the end of each episode. It was
nice.
Really, really cool.
Yeah.
That is so powerful.
It totally is, because you're actually not only putting yourself in the place of the person that you're working with at the time, you're taking all of that work, and people that are watching can say, oh my God, I can identify with that. Oh my God, that's happening to me right now.
Yeah. And it takes a lot of courage for the people who are guests on the show, right? To actually do that. So I had a lot of respect for that. And then we use different tools, right? So what you got to see is your thoughts, your emotions, and your actions are wired together in your body chemistry through hormones. Your body doesn't really care what the hormones are. It just wants to maintain its status quo. It's like your body is addicted to that set of hormones. So if you want to break it, it's almost like an addiction, right? You have to break all three at a time. What you believe, how you feel, and how you act. And there's a bunch of different ways of doing that, right? I personally use energy work, but there's meditation, Ho'oponopono, visualization, all sorts of stuff, all sorts of tools, tapping. There's all sorts of tools you can use. And we used a variety of tools for people throughout the show to just highlight that. And then the changes that came from it were amazing.
Yeah.
It's interesting. You've mentioned hormones a number of times during the broadcast. What role do you think hormones play in so much of not only our body chemistry, but how it manifests itself in our personalities? Because I am at this point an expert in bioidentical hormones. And right, you're smiling. I'm sure you know what they are and how they affect people. Tell me your knowledge of hormones and how it affects us. It's fascinating to me.
Admittedly, I don't have that much knowledge about hormones. My access point is energy work. That works the best for me. So I feel like you should be the one answering the question, Wendy.
You mentioned, so from energy, right? Our energy affects our hormones, or our hormones affect our energy. And you're one of the few people, when we've talked about this, that mentioned hormones. Most people don't. And bioidentical hormones, which a lot of women over 50 use, more in California, by the way, than in New York, because there's only a few doctors here that do that. It has done such profound changes in their lives. I'd be curious if going forward with the kind of podcast you have, if you don't end up with a guest on that knows about that. It is life-altering and life-changing, using these plant-derived hormones, right? They duplicate what we have in our own bodies. But to not only keep a person young, it keeps their brain totally functioning. You know, as people get older, they lose stuff, both males and females, right? But what bioidentical hormones do is they start replacing, and it's not hormone replacement therapy. It's a different thing, although in essence, it's replacing the hormones. I brought it up because you had mentioned, hormones in our bodies. And I don't think people realize how much our hormones affect us. Women in particular, I mean, our cycle, my daughter, it's like her cycle is so determined by her hormones. And she has found by doing some of the work you're talking about, meditation, energy work, and taking vitamins, and also how she eats completely affects it and will make her month easier.
Yeah, what really blows my mind here is two things. First of all, medical research used to be only done on male people.
Right.
So most of what we know about medicine was based on the male body, right? And research on the female body, how things are differently, is only coming up in recent years, which shows itself in like what happened with the Johnson & Johnson vaccine, right? That they eventually figured out that women shouldn't take it. And I took it 3 days before they stopped it.
Oh, geez.
The other thing is positive psychology is only 20 years old.
Right.
Up to about 20 years ago, all psychology was based on the belief that we have to limit or alternate bad behavior instead of building good behavior, right?
Well
so
put.
if you take these two into consideration, it makes
Those are
sense
big.
that the entire field of how we're working on ourselves has to change away from taking pills that suppress a certain thing towards building the good stuff, then and the bad stuff hopefully goes away, and or at least it gets less. But this has to happen at the same time, right? And especially with women and hormones on the cycle, the fact that the cycle in itself is not an acknowledged topic in a conversation, that you can't just talk about it, still blows my mind, because it affects so much of life, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Now, one thing, as far as the work, the self-work that you're talking about, that has to be welcomed. Like, the person has to be willing to do this work, to address these issues. Otherwise, they will not change.
Exactly.
And a lot of people have fear of change.
Right.
Yeah. And even that is okay, right? Like, you are who you are. You're at where you're at. You make your choices because it's your life and you have to live it, right? I think when I was coaching, it was hard for me to face the resistance of people had towards change, because for me, I still have resistance, but I changed so much. I wouldn't be here. I'm so far away from where I've come from. I wouldn't be here without doing this kind of work on a daily basis. Right?
You practice what you preach. You really do.
But that's the only way this can work, right? And I don't want to be in people's faces and be like, this is what you got to do.
Right.
My way of doing it is by telling the stories, and then people can pick. This is something that resonates with me, while that is something I'm not ready for yet. Right. And that's fine. Everybody in their own timing, and what you choose. What really matters is the belief and the knowing that whatever bothers you can change.
Yes, absolutely.
Whatever is an issue in your life right now, you can find a way to deal with it and make it better. And you have that power. That's what I really want people to believe. You can.
Yes, absolutely. And again, it's kind of comes from that power is the type of entertainment, like your script writing and all of that is coming from that place of empowerment and humanity. That so much of entertainment is surface, you know. It's all, they paint the picture that the last movie painted of people, and you know, I am totally with you on getting down to individual stories and individual characters and backstory and all of that. Totally.
And even even for the like, there's a play. There's nothing wrong with stories that are entertaining or shows that are fun to watch or anything, right? It's just about getting the diversity so people can choose and find what they resonate with, right?
I'm curious, like, in your personal opinion. So because of the pandemic, I watch Netflix. I have no time for TV, and I had no time for any of it. But here's my confession. I find myself watching like zombie films on Netflix. Why am I doing this? Because it's so out of because days in New York are so stressful, right? Who knows it? Nikki, I'm telling you that I just want to put something on dumb for like an hour and 40 minutes and then go to sleep.
There's nothing wrong with that.
I would care to guess that because I do that too, in a way, because I want to see somebody who had a worse time today than I did in New York.
A zombie film on. But do you feel that Do you feel that something like Netflix, I've started to think of Netflix, believe it or not, this is crazy, but like as a kind of therapy, because there is diversity in all the different kinds of programs. A lot of their movies, I find these similar, women getting raped, children getting kidnapped and murdered. There's a lot of that, but there's also, when you go through it, you can dig deep. You can pull up great films from foreign countries that nobody's ever heard of. I just saw something from Afghanistan. Do you believe that Netflix has a therapeutic value to it?
Absolutely. Not all of it, but I mean, entertainment wouldn't be this big if it didn't add value to people's lives, right? And there's actually one of the leading scientists on what we're talking about, body-mind connection.
Yes.
From Germany. He's written 2 books about film as therapy.
Wow.
And I haven't read them yet. But he has a, I think, 1,500 pages book about the psychological reasons of every disease or illness you can possibly think of, and what the mental, emotional part of each organ is, and all of that. And he references all kinds of ways for therapy, including movies.
Interesting.
Sometimes.
Interesting.
Wow. Nikki, we have some comments I want to
absolutely.
Read. I just got one on my phone from the amazing Kadrolsha, who is also going to be a guest on our show.
Love her.
I love her, which is really, really great. Thank you, Kadrolsha, for saying that.
Tom Okerlund says, looking forward. Victor Santiago says, hey, guys.
Hey, Victor.
Just a second. I saw Dawn down here. Jimmy Star show with Ron Russell. They said, hello. Thank you. And hey, Nikki. Dawn Hinton. She said a few things. She said, love Apollonia, which we were talking about earlier. She said, Dawn Hinton, can they see our comments? Well, Dawn Hinton, Tom Cheerlin, send a smiley face.
Teresa Sabin
says you are fabulous. Yes, I think that's about it. I'm just kind of like giving the...
And we have more later. I love when people interact with our show. I love going back when I'm on the bus going home and answering their, and thanking them. That's the beauty, right? And that's something for me that came out of the pandemic. The ability to do this, to be able to reach people. We have someone that tunes in regularly, B. Claudia. I forgot her to watch. She's from Germany. How could I forget? I'm going to send her the link separately because
she'll love this show. She'll love this. Now, but like you were saying earlier about your movies being around the world, before you would have to take an actual reel to whatever location and have them put it on the thing to show it. Yeah. And now with the press of a button, you can send it digitally anywhere around the world and have it shown, which I think is just wonderful. It's amazing.
It was amazing. It was a short film, right? That or both were short films, but the one that really got nominated
because I could, or
because I could, and a portrayal of a subtle suicide were the two that did the festival run in 2020, and especially the Asian countries were really well prepared to take everything digitally. So I did a lot of award ceremonies online. And
I love that.
Craziest times of the day.
I know, right?
I was nominated in Kuala Lumpur, and they had the crown prince give a speech during the virtual ceremony. And that was at like 5 a.m. in the morning, I think, or 4:30 a.m.
Okay, that's a great story. That is a great pandemic story.
Yeah, I was just trying not to yawn on camera, honestly.
What made you decide with the film festivals to seek a bigger net to start? I've done festivals. I've done them here. I have to admit, I like being live at the festival as opposed to online, but during the pandemic, we couldn't. What made you submit your films to places like Kuala Lumpur? I know India does a ton of festivals.
Well, I submitted that one to basically ecological film festivals. It has a strong ecological message. So I looked for the festivals that were in tune with that, and Malaysia has a really strong culture when it comes to sustainability. And that festival in particular is attached to a convention on sustainability. So
perfect.
That was amazing that I got in there. And with the other one, Portrayal, which is a lot more subtle, I found out that, again, especially people in India just resonated a lot more with the film than people in the Western world, because the message is a lot more subtle. There's a lot more about reading into it. It's not in your face, as because I could. And so I just submitted to a lot more festivals in India. And also, again, they were ready, right? While everything here was on hold and people were struggling. And then
everybody was
ultimately postponing their festivals to the next year, right? Or canceling them. They were ready. So yeah, it was fun.
Great. Really, really great story.
We have one other comment that came in from Marty Al Butcher that says, bioidentical hormones therapy sounds like something Chelsea needs to hear. I don't know who Chelsea is.
That's his daughter. Marty's a dear friend of mine. Supports artists incredibly. And I've had these hormone conversations. I have friends that are transitioning. So of course we have hormone. I'm all about hormones, Nikki. and I just love talking about him. I'm fascinated by him. Once again, it's something that we still don't know a heck of a lot about,
Yeah, it's so interesting though, right?
It's so
to learn more.
You have been such a fabulous
Absolutely.
Yes.
I'm so
Thank you for having me.
So grateful you came on the show today. But everybody, please go check out on social media NIKI J Borger, NIKI J BORGER, and check her out and keep following her, because she's going to be doing some amazing things. I can tell.
And selfish request from me, Nikki. Your films are both shorts, right?
Yeah, those are shorts.
Can you send me and Tim the links? So I'll watch it. I would like to watch it. Yeah.
I'll send them to you.
More about what you do. And we support, of course, other artists. So it'd be great.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well, thank you very much. And again, don't go away. We need a picture.
Yes.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Have a good week.